They stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious, and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see this administration do.
Megyn Kelly didn't just enter the conversation, she stormed into it like a heavyweight fighter stepping into the ring. And the target of her precision strikes was none other than Hillary Clinton. Every remark, every carefully sharpened line landed like a punch designed to test the strength of decades of political armor. For years, Clinton had worked tirelessly to craft an image of resilience, a brand polished to perfection, but Kelly wasn't buying it. She swung at the cracks Clinton tried to seal, exposing the weak points that had been painted over with layers of carefully chosen words and strategic appearances. What Kelly delivered wasn't some casual roast you'd hear at a dinner table. It was systematic, like a surgeon dismantling a myth piece by piece. No scandal was ignored, no inconsistency left untouched. By the end of her critique, the polished portrait Clinton wanted the world to see looked less like a symbol of strength and more like a fragile tower ready to topple with the slightest push. The effect was dramatic, almost theatrical, and Kelly made sure her audience felt every bit of it.
Hillary Clinton has a very weird and I think shitty marriage. I don't think she has a husband who is in love with her or faithful to her. And I think I can't really blame him because she seems to have accepted this behavior since the inception of their marriage. And so past his prologue, you're going to get what you tolerate. You know, what you permit, you promote. She spent all of her daughter's upbringing away, at work, at the law firm, in the White House, running for office. And
for decades, Hillary Clinton moved through the political arena as if guided by inevitability itself. She carried herself with the poise of someone convinced her place in history was already etched in stone. That confidence often came across as unshakable, a sense that no matter the obstacles, her path to power was preordained. But Kelly wasn't impressed. She tore into that carefully constructed legend with the energy of a buzzsaw, stripping away the lacquered finish to reveal what she argued was a career fueled less by achievement and more by sheer survival instinct. To Kelly, this wasn't about celebrating a record of success, it was about exposing how staying power can sometimes be mistaken for genuine impact. Her words cut like a scalpel, slicing through the glossy surface of myth-making to reveal a much less flattering reality beneath. It wasn't cautious critique, it wasn't light-hearted commentary, it was a bold, unapologetic dismantling that left little room for Clinton's defenders to argue back.
Have in the Durham Annex, like full screen grabs of the Russian memos that the Dutch got their hands on and leaked to us, where the Russians are recounting exactly what they saw Leonard discussing about this Hillary Clinton fan and emissary, Julianne Smith, and how they were going to stop Trump, undermine Trump, but most importantly, distract from Hillary's email scandal.
And hey, if you're enjoying this breakdown, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss the next deep dive. Now, back to the fire. Kelly set her sights directly on what many consider the cornerstone of Clinton's reputation, the image of the seasoned stateswoman. To most, that's supposed to represent wisdom earned through decades of service. But Kelly flipped that idea on its head. She argued it wasn't wisdom at all, it was just endurance. In her view, Clinton's long career wasn't about groundbreaking leadership but about mastering the art of political survival. Kelly pointed out how Clinton had weathered storm after storm, not because of unmatched skill, but because she had access to a system that shielded her from the fallout ordinary politicians would never escape. The real story, Kelly suggested, was not one of brilliance but of insulation, a career protected by influence, powerful allies, and connections deep enough to keep her standing when others would have been buried by controversy. Longevity, in Kelly's eyes, wasn't proof of greatness. It was proof of how a system bends for those it finds useful, and Hillary had been very useful for a very long time.
She was doing all this. And back to Hillary, you know, the whole, she has a hat she's tweeted herself out wearing, but her emails. She's tried to turn it into this ridiculous joke, like, but the moon landing, like you nutcases who are still railing about this made-up scandal, this thing that, you've used to try to unfairly tar me. She did need to distract from that email scandal, which was around her neck like an albatross. Trust me, we were covering it every night on the Kelly File at Fox News. She had clearly violated the law with that homebrew server that had been accessed by foreign agents. She compromised national intelligence information. She did things she would never have allowed anybody at the State Department to do under her.
From there, Kelly pivoted to another sharp critique, what she called the sense of entitlement woven into Clinton's political presence. She pointed out that every campaign, every carefully staged public appearance, seemed to carry an unspoken message: you owe me your support. The aura wasn't about winning people over, it was about expecting loyalty as if it were already guaranteed. Kelly described how this pattern gave off the impression that Clinton was the safe hands, the inevitable option, the only adult in the room, and she dismantled that narrative with precision. According to Kelly, inevitability is nothing more than arrogance wearing a polished suit. Trust, she reminded viewers, isn't inherited, and it certainly isn't demanded. Trust is earned through results, through delivery, through proving time and again that promises can be turned into action. And when Kelly posed the big question, what groundbreaking achievements justified this aura of inevitability, the silence was deafening. Titles and positions may have stacked up, but Kelly demanded to know, where were the results that truly changed the game?
Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
Kelly showed no patience for the idea that Clinton's career was a shining example of relentless public service. Instead, she painted it as something very different, a masterclass in self-preservation. In Kelly's telling, it wasn't about serving the people. It was about serving herself, climbing rung after rung on the political ladder, even if scandals snapped at her heels the entire way. Whitewater, Benghazi, the infamous private server, each of those controversies should have been politically devastating. For an average politician, just one of them could have been career-ending. But Hillary survived them all, not by directly addressing the damage or confronting the criticism head-on, but by pivoting. By changing the subject. By moving quickly into the next opportunity before the dust could even settle. Kelly likened it to someone stepping straight out of a burning building into a staged photo op, smiling for the cameras as if nothing had ever happened. It wasn't resilience in the noble sense, it was survival in the most calculated form. And to Kelly, that strategy revealed far more about Clinton's priorities than any speech about public service ever could.
And that leads me back to Schellenberger here. This is page 4 of his report. He writes as follows: the Russian reports, again, that the Dutch spied on, that we got our hands on, also claimed, and listen to this, I mean, you probably already know this stuff, Glenn, but claimed that Attorney General Loretta Lynch, okay, this is back in 2016, people, remember, Obama's president, Loretta Lynch is his Attorney General, and her DOJ/FBI are investigating the Hillary Clinton email scandal. And also now we learn simultaneously working with the Hillary Clinton campaign to bury that scandal in favor of calling Trump a Russian agent. Okay.
And Kelly didn't stop there. She went after the hypocrisy she saw at the core of Clinton's public persona. On one hand, Hillary often presented herself as the voice of the underdog, the working class, the struggling families, the marginalized communities who needed someone in their corner. But on the other hand, Kelly highlighted how her donor lists and inner circle told a very different story. The names weren't everyday Americans. They were Wall Street giants, foreign dignitaries with questionable records, and an elite group of backers who had more in common with billion-dollar boardrooms than with kitchen tables in small-town America. Kelly hammered this contradiction over and over: you can't brand yourself as the champion of the people while cashing checks from the very institutions that keep ordinary people down. It's like trying to wear two costumes at the same time, Kelly argued. Eventually the mask slips. And when it does, the image of defender of the people collapses into what she described as another example of politics serving power rather than principle.
Okay. I mean, she conceded the election. Whether you're interpreting her disappointment at losing it as the same thing as Trump not conceding it, I don't know if that's where you're getting it from. But again, it's a tremendous false equivalency. You could ask Hillary Clinton right now who won that election. She will tell you Donald Trump won the election.
Now she knows she has to.
When Kelly turned her focus to the 2016 campaign, she didn't hold back. That election, she argued, wasn't just a political contest, it was an open wound that still hasn't healed. According to Kelly, the entire campaign was built less like a grassroots movement and more like a coronation tour. It carried the air of inevitability, as if the people's choice had already been made for them and all that remained was to crown her. Kelly dismantled that arrogance piece by piece, pointing out that Clinton didn't run a campaign designed to inspire voters, to connect with them on a deeper level, or to ignite a shared vision of the future. Instead, she ran a campaign designed to convince people there was simply no alternative. It was about pushing inevitability, not building enthusiasm. And when defeat came, the response was a laundry list of excuses, blame directed everywhere but inward. Russia, sexism, the media, misinformation, every explanation surfaced except the simplest one: she was the wrong candidate for that moment in history. Out of touch with voters she believed were already locked in, she misread the room entirely. Kelly argued that this wasn't just a mistake, it was evidence of someone too insulated by years of political protection to see reality as it was. But Kelly didn't stop with campaign strategy, she aimed at the Clinton Foundation, calling it the soft underbelly of the entire operation. While public speeches spoke of transparency and integrity, Kelly argued the reality was very different. The foundation blurred the lines between philanthropy and political influence so much that it became impossible to distinguish where charity ended and self-interest began. To Kelly, it wasn't a beacon of public good, it was an access machine dressed in the language of giving. The kind of operation where connections, donations, and favors flowed together in a way that looked less. Clinton's repeated attempts at reinvention also became a major target of Kelly's critique. Every few years, she seemed to return with a slightly different version of herself: new wardrobe, new tone, new branding, as though repolishing the same story would somehow make it feel fresh. But Kelly cut through the theatrics with precision. At the end of the day, she argued, it was always the same script. The same talking points. The same calculated pauses during speeches meant to appear relatable. It was politics packaged like a performance. Authenticity, Kelly reminded her audience, isn't something you can schedule on your calendar between high-dollar fundraisers and private luncheons. And then there was the media. Kelly scorched the way much of the press had acted like a shield rather than a spotlight, softening controversies, reframing scandals, or brushing off real questions as overblown attacks. According to Kelly, that kind of media behavior doesn't protect democracy, it undermines it. When journalists function like public relations staff, the public doesn't get facts. They get propaganda, carefully filtered through lenses meant to preserve one politician's image. Behind the polished delivery, Kelly argued, lies a steady stream of empty platitudes, words crafted to sound profound but hollow enough to avoid real risk. She compared it to eating empty calories: it fills the space, it feels satisfying in the moment, but it leaves you no stronger than before. Kelly even tore into the way Clinton often presented herself as a tireless advocate for women. Real advocacy, she said, means putting the cause above the individual. But in Clinton's version, the two were so tightly intertwined that supporting her became synonymous with supporting the cause. And criticizing her? That was framed as an attack on women themselves. Kelly argued this wasn't advocacy at all, it was a political shield dressed up as moral authority. Less like altruism and more like politics disguised as benevolence. And she made it clear, for all the soaring promises about integrity, the track record told another story.